Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are looking at my personally curated SpongeBob SquarePants collection. We're going to start with Gary. Gary is SpongeBob's pet snail that loves to meow at him. In terms of character design, Gary has so many colors. His snail foot is green and blue. His shell is pink with a red swirl and purple spots. His eyes are black, orange, and yellow. If you have been to this channel before, you know I have a dislike of white and light-colored Krellies, so I couldn't just buy a Krelly with some rainbow glitter in it. But I was remembering an Emily DeMolly thermal called Silk and Denim. It changes between a dusty lilac purple and a dusty rose pink with some blue shimmer and silver glitter. So I felt the pink and the purple covered his shell color, the blue shimmer could stand in for the foot, and the glitter, though silver, could represent both his spots or his eyes on their long stalks. I knew I was going to have to compromise by leaving out some of the colors, or I was just going to end up with a polish that was, for me, a visual mess. I would rather compromise on the colors than buy a polish that was more accurate that I would not want to wear. Because this polish is from 2021, the thermal change isn't as strong as it used to be. The cold state doesn't get as purple as it used to, but it does still change. I thought the changing thermal thematically matched Gary's identity crisis of snail versus cat. If you're hearing this and thinking I put way too much thought into this, just imagine what my husband went through as I justified my various nail polish picks to him. He had to listen to this for days. The man is a saint. While I was painting, Gary was in the colder state. Here you can see it in the warmer state where it is that slightly dusty pink. Depending on the finger I apply it to and the day I have painting, Gary may need a third coat. This polish does also require glitter grabber just to smooth out those glitter. In this video, every polish gets 2 coats. Anything that needs a glitter grabber, it's put on off camera, and same with the top coat that will show up in the full hand shots. I sort of skipped some pleasantries to get right into the first polish, but I bought each polish to represent a character in the show. I initially purchased 5 polishes in 2021. I then expanded it to 10 in 2023. Meanwhile, you've been looking at the darker version of Gary that's more of a purplish lilac. And we're going to move on to Mr. Krabs. Mostly to ensure my pigment stains matched my polish, I put this on my index finger. I didn't want that to warp the look of polishes that I was going to put on that I knew weren't as opaque. When I was looking for a Mr. Krabs polish, I was hoping to grab a red with some sort of blue element to represent his pants and shirt, but I just couldn't find anything like that at the time. So instead, I looked for some black to represent his belt. I chose Glam polishes, Born in Blood. It felt very weird for me at the time to be buying a red, but this was another little step to get me onto the road of liking pinks and reds. Gary didn't hurt that endeavor either. This polish has Aurora shimmer, some black matte glitter, and iridescent glitter that moves from gold to green. There is something about red jellies that they like to swallow the color of components added to them. So you won't often see those glitter shift, but they will sometimes. I think this is the reason I couldn't find one with blue shreds or glitter at the time. A deep red base just wouldn't let a blue show through. I think I got lucky in that the iridescent glitter and shimmer can also subtly suggest Mr. Krabs' gold belt buckle. This might have been my first Glam polish. Mr. Krabs also requires some glitter grabber. I really felt I had nailed the color of Mr. Krabs with this polish. And next we have Patrick. Patrick's star was a bit of an enigma for me. When I started looking for a polish, I was looking at pinks, but when I compared the two side by side, I realized they were not very close. That's when I realized Patrick wasn't a true pink. He was ever so slightly peach. So off I went again to find something with just a drop or two of orange in it. I narrowed it down to a bee's knees and a cupcake. In the end, I decided on Cupcake Polish's Hamilton. I was worried that the BKL was too shimmer heavy, and I wasn't going to see as much of the pink base as I wanted to. I had hoped to find something with a green or purple shimmer for his swim trunks. I think I got a little purple at the edges in this one, but mostly this shows as a pink to blue shimmer. So I do think I failed in that secondary task, but I'm okay with that. But I think the base color that is slightly more peach and the pink shimmer together do a good job of being a Patrick color. On this day, I was determined to only do 2 coats of everything, but I do often wear this in 3 coats. Mostly I was trying to keep the length of this video from getting completely out of hand. As chatty as I am in these videos, I couldn't go on that long. Even I was going to need a reprieve from myself at some point. Now we have Plankton. This was a character that had a lot of variety in his color in the cartoon. So at some point, I just had to pick a reference picture and run with it. My worry was that sometimes his color was a little too much like Squidward. So I opted for a slightly darker version of Plankton to help differentiate the two. I chose Bermuda Triangle by Cupcake Polish. If it looks familiar, I did do a full hand swatch of this last year. In that video, I believe I did do 3 coats, so if you did want to see that, you can always go back and have a look. I had hoped to get something that had his eye color of red and yellow, but the gold in this shimmer is pretty shy, so I decided to forego trying to match that aspect. There really were no other polishes in the running for Plankton. When I saw this Cupcake, I felt pretty strongly that I liked it for his polish. Overall, I'm okay with my footage today, but I am taking it as a live and learn scenario. When I was setting up, I was afraid I'd move too much and go at a frame, so I opted for this more zoomed out view. But I think my fears were unfounded, because having my palm flat on a surface meant I didn't really move that much. Usually, I'm balancing on the outside edge of my hand when I paint my thumb, so I do have trouble staying in frame. But now I feel confident zooming in more on the other fingers. And last, we are doing the eponymous main character. SpongeBob, surprisingly, wasn't all that hard to find at the time I was looking. I saw this anchor and heart and instantly knew this was my SpongeBob color. If you think it looks a little too green and a bit too bright, you're probably correct. However, I do think my skin tones pull it back towards being correct. I also loved all of the flakes in it. They absolutely reminded me of SpongeBob's holes, which was such a nice detail that makes me happy to this day. It is no accident that I was trying to find a lot of jellies for this collection. First, I like them as a polish finish type, and I was trying to use that to have some sort of cohesion. But second, I thought it was a nice tip of the hat to the jellyfish that SpongeBob goes hunting with his net. I know that Gary is a Krelly, and that sort of broke things up a bit, but I thought I did all right with my first 5. You've probably noticed that I'm a little more zoomed out than normal today. Partially, I needed the extra room to be able to maneuver my hands. Hopefully, you can still see what's happening. I tried to keep my unnecessary fingers out of the way, but we do get some accidental peekaboo. I also had a nail apocalypse, so I just decided to round off all of my corners so that at least they look somewhat consistent. I did do some of my usual full hand shots of sun, shade, and artificial light. In this shot, my thumb is warm, so you are seeing the dusty rose color. This is why I inserted shots of my thumb in earlier, so you wouldn't have to see two versions of everything here. I think in two coats, Hamilton and Bermuda Triangle do look a little desaturated for their intended purpose. I think you can see why I mostly put on 3 coats for them. Born in Blood is the only one that has never needed a 3rd coat. I did, of course, have rules for my SpongeBob collection. I wanted polishes explicitly for this purpose, so they couldn't be picked out of my existing collection, and my intention was to wear them with each other. Not necessarily all at the same time. So for instance, sometimes I would wear SpongeBob on one hand and Patrick on the other. I also wanted natural pairs within the collection, like SpongeBob and Patrick, Plankton and Karen, Mr. Krabs and Squidward. And that is all for today. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe so that I can also live in a pineapple under the sea. However, I may forget to bring a knife with me to cut out windows and a door, so I may have to live underneath my pineapple, like Patrick lives under his rock. Please enjoy a clip of my red squirrel with a clipped tail looking for some goodies while I'm recording my sun shots.